And welcome to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports, part of the Hockey Podcast Network and the Bills Mafia Buffalo fan base platform. We are brought to you by Rich Brow Brewing, located at 5 South 20th Street in Richmond, Virginia. They are Richmond's premier Buffalo Bills backers bar. The Buffalo Bills yesterday got themselves off the schneid with a dominating 40-9 victory over the Carolina Panthers, and they will start to prepare this week as the Kansas City Chiefs come to town this coming Sunday. Tonight, though, we are excited to do an all-hockey talk as the Sabres are now 4-4-1 after a challenging 0-3 start to their season. So I had a classic Office Space case of the Mondays and mistakenly had the showtime wrong initially today. So we greatly appreciate today's guest for keeping us honest with that also. But with that, when we also last spoke, she was taking a proverbial drink from a fire hose, as she called it, as she got on the Sabres beat and absorbing a substantial amount of content to prepare for her current role and her written work for the Buffalo News throughout this offseason and the start of her first regular season covering the team has been outstanding to this point. And she also regularly collaborates with her colleague, Mike Harrington, whether it's just through her written work or on the Ice Time podcast. So please welcome back to the show, Buffalo News beat reporter, Rachel Lenzi.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I was kind of strategic in this date. Well, most of the quote-unquote Saberhood was the sky is falling when we originally reached out to me 3 games into the season. There was definitely panic, but I like to think of the 10-game rule. And I said to my coworker, Mike Harrington on Ice Time, a podcast we did a couple weeks ago, I said, let's circle back after 10 games and see where this team is to see if there really is cause for panic. Early in the season, I believe it was after the Colorado loss, Tage Thompson said in no uncertain terms, guys, it's an 82-game season. It really put it in perspective. And then later on in the week, I talked a little bit with Jacob Bryson about, kind of how you pace yourself over the course of an 82-game season. It's an ebb and flow season. A lot can happen. And he says, he kind of said what it fit into what I thought, break it down into 10-game increments. You look at the whole season, you're going to get a little overwhelmed. I've watched a lot of hockey in my career and in my life, and things can change. I mean, the Sabres were very injury-riddled start of the season. We're starting to get a few more players back. We could see Michael Kesselring tomorrow night. Jacob Bryson's going to be coming out of concussion protocol. All of a sudden, we have this glut of defensemen. There were 8 skating this morning. Zach Metsa goes back down to Rochester. And it's the reserves are building back up as well. And I always think about, again, the ebb and flow season, how you might start out in 3, but Sabres now, all of a sudden at one point they had won 4 of their last 5 games. They got 3 out of 4 possible points this weekend in Toronto, especially in that stretch of 6 Atlantic Division games where those points carry more weight. So the Sabres are starting to find their rhythm, see things. I mean, the overtime loss in Toronto, it was just a bad turnover. Michael Nyes sends the outlet pass to John Tavares, and sometimes you just have no chance against a player like John Tavares. And we're coming up on 10 games tomorrow night, so I think the sample size is a little bigger. I think there's less room to panic right now.
Yeah.
So very much agree on that one, Rachel. So again, what's a pleasure to have you back on, first and foremost. But aside from taking the plunge into the deep end that you've obviously gotten into with Sabres hockey, how have things been for you? And I mean, with the sports calendar being the way it is, you might argue it's like the best time of year for sports. So how have things been going, Rachel?
Just covering a lot of hockey, trying to get my gym time in, trying to spend time with my family. And, I joke, I said, I don't have to pack suitcases and unpack them all the time, but you come home from Boston, just leave the suitcase on the floor with half your stuff in it because you're going to Montreal. I even said to my husband yesterday, I said, geez, I've been in 3 NHL cities in the last week. And he just looks at me and goes, you're finally living the dream. And I went, talk to me again on deadline. But it's interesting to see the kind of the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of a team. And you've got to find these interesting ways to communicate what happens. Sometimes news happens, like in Boston a few weeks ago when Lindy Ruff said Josh Norris is going to be out for a significant amount of time. There goes one story idea, in comes the other, breaking news. Or you walk into practice, you're like, well, hey, who am I going to talk to today? You come in and kind of do that as well. So a lot of it is really learning on the beat, learning, how to navigate through these NHL arenas, trying to find parking in Toronto, which was an adventure on Saturday as well.
I can only imagine just based on that extra traffic.
I can't complain because, it's just, but I can admit this. If you would have asked me October 27th, 2024, what I'd be doing a year from now, I would not have expected to be doing any of this. So that's a good thing.
That's great. Love to hear that. So, but again, nice of you to take some moment of just out of your extremely busy schedule to chat some Sabres hockey. But let's get right to it then. So,
all right,
like we said, Sabres are sitting at 4-4-1, like a perfectly 500 schedule. But like you were saying, when I first reached out to you to come back, you said they were at their 0-3 start. A lot of people were doing some familiar chants in the home stands of fire Kevin Adams and just overall general feelings of unwellness among the fan base overall. So, Rachel, at this point now, after having more games behind them, so 9 games in, plenty of solid wins mixed in as well. Before we get too far into the weeds, what are your initial takeaways from the Sabres team, be them positive or negative, just to start things off?
I think they're slowly starting to find their identity. It's not a complicated identity. It's, winning small battles on the ice, getting the 50-50 pucks, winning faceoffs, which I do want to get to because they're not winning a lot of them lately. It's getting healthy. One thing I hear a lot, the word in hockey is consistency. I asked Zach Benson when we talked about consistency, what does that mean? I asked Zach Benson's coach, former Sabre James Patrick, former Sabres defenseman, longtime NHL coach, he coaches Zach Benson in Winnipeg. What is your definition of consistency? I asked Lindy Ruff, what is your definition of consistency? And I'm grabbing my phone because he actually gave a really good definition. One of the things, I jokingly said it's the C word in hockey, is consistency. And that's one of the things the Sabres need to find if they need to be competitive, is developing team and individual consistency. And Lindy Ruff gave this great quote the other day when I asked him, how do you want your team to develop consistency? Pardon me as I look down at my phone. He says, consistent is being consistent in all those areas. You're constantly looking at something and saying, boy, we've got to improve a little bit on this. And he says, I'll reference the first or 2 or 3 games, the 0-3 start. Our offensive numbers were very good, but we weren't very good. We weren't creating enough. We weren't getting enough chances that were going to correlate into scoring enough goals. I mean, remember they had 2 shots against Boston in the first period. And I even went, oh my God, it was, ooh.
Yeah, that was bleak.
But he says, defensively, we talked about being the better team. I think the chances are going down. We want to continue to keep them going down. So there's kind of that correlation of what do we do to create more offense? What do we do to, be a strong defensive team as well, too? I like how the penalty kill is coming around as well, too. I think, that is really a positive point. And the point I'm going to get into is Alex Tuch's role in the penalty kill as well. You noted in email, he hasn't had the greatest offensive start, but I said this in one of my stories. I said, he's showing why he's a Selke Trophy candidate as, the best 2-way / defensive forward in the NHL so far. I think this team is really starting to find its identity. A year ago, Lindy Ruff takes over, and for lack of a better term, there's a lot of culture shock with some of these players. They have Lindy Ruff, who's an old school guy who, bag skates were part of his MO back in the day. He's learned to adapt, and they've gone from Don Granato, who was very much about development and getting to know players. He was a little bit more of a player's coach. Lindy's more of an old school coach. There was a lot of culture shock with that. Another one, Matthias Samuelsson, kind of, had to go through that transition as well, too. But I think now that they have the benefit of a full training camp with Lindy Ruff, a full training camp at home, and having to figure out what do we have to do to get through these injuries and come together and get guys to step up and to do that consistently, to build those habits every day of what to do with excellence. I think that's going to serve them well. Another consistency, I think of it again, former UB football coach, Maurice Linguist, didn't have the greatest tenure here in Buffalo, but one of the things he said a couple years ago during one of his press conferences was consistency is going to help get you great. When you're not even doing things, but doing it every day and getting better at it. That is consistency. That is what the Sabres need to do. And in that process, they have to learn to work through adversity, the losses, the John Tavares overtime goal, the turnovers, not winning faceoffs. They got to figure out what to do. So consistency, that's what it is. Starting to come together with their identity.
Love that. And Rachel, I have kind of a whole hodgepodge of questions, and I'm just going to throw them out there, right. Topics, and would love for you to just comment on any of them that you feel like. You said we're about almost at the 10-game mark, or we're at the first 10-game mark. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Alex Tuch, not being signed, offensive numbers for both he and Tage have been kind of slow to start the season, but I read a statistic today that the McLeod Tuch line is like second in Corsi 4 in the entire league as a line, which is pretty impressive.
That's pretty good. I mean,
killed it. Yeah.
I would say it means they're taking shots. They're just not going in. And I mean, look what happened with Jason. I think also look at Jason Zucker. How many net front chances he's had? There's not going in, until he finally does. That's a matter of repetitive things. One of the things about Alex Tuch, I like, again, I think he's a Selke Trophy candidate. His defensive game, he has 13 block shots so far. I mean, he's not among the league leaders. I think it was someone from Vegas is among the league leaders. I just looked up the statistics. He had Alex Tuch had 4 block shots against Detroit. He had 4 in the win against Toronto. I mean, it ain't easy to block shots, and it's painful to block shots.
Right.
Another thing that's really good about him, he's playing a lot of shorthanded minutes on that penalty kill. I think he had like 620 in shorthanded minutes against Florida. He had about 422 against Ottawa. He had 414 against Boston. He's playing big shorthanded minutes because they count on him to do the job as a penalty killer as well, too. The goals and the assists are going to come around. Like you said, that Corsi stat is a very good statistic to show it's not for a lack of effort that a guy like Alex Tuch is not scoring. The effort is there. The output just isn't there yet. Again, we are 9 games into the season. Still a small sample size. Let's get back after 20 and talk more about what Alex Tuch is capable of. And I think in that 20-game span, we'll also see more of, what his productivity is on both sides of the puck. Does that make sense? Both sides of the puck.
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to both sides of the ball. So I'm still kind of in football mode. If you listen to some of my post-game interviews, I'll talk about the third quarter versus the third period. And I said, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. This is going out all over WGR. I'm going to go viral one of these days. We're talking about the third period. So the third quarter. So yeah, I would both, Alex Tuch, we're going to see more of both sides of the puck. And what's great about Alex Tuch too is he's not having a great scoring game. You can always count on his defensive game. You can always count on that.
Love that. A couple more for you real quick. And then I'll let Chris Maz, I know, has a question.
Okay.
So I'll give you 3 quick hitters here.
Okay.
The goalie situation. UPL didn't look great. The new kid came in and played his butt off. Zach Benson, maybe having a career year in terms of the points are going to start to show up. And in the defensive game, Matthias Samuelsson, the new best offensive defenseman that we never knew we had. Let's
talk about the 3 goalie problem first. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's an insurance policy. Again, there's concern about UPL's consistency. We saw it was very clear last year. His injury status, he says he plays like he's fine. The thing that also concerned me was that 4th goal the other night in Toronto. I mean, when he went to play it, he was, he had a defense, he had a forward next to him. The way he reached out to make that glove shot with his left hand, I turned to Mike Harrington and I said, that's how third graders who have never played baseball or softball before go to reach the glove, because they teach you. I played college softball. They teach you give into it, follow it. But he's like reaching up, like, no, you can't do that. I wanted to like scream at the a little league coach, don't do it. And UPL is also trying to find his footing. He even said after the game, he said this was a frustrating start for me, and he was also called into action because Colton Ellis woke up with a tight back. And one thing I found out about hockey players is that they're very, very protective of their health and of their bodies, which is good, especially when you consider you have to do every 82-game season. Again, I'm from the football world. I'm in the football mentality of where dudes pop a shoulder back in and go in for the next play. It's not like that in hockey. It's very different. So Colton Ellis woke up with a tight back that accelerated UPL's return. And Alex Lyon needed a break. For the first 4 or 5 games, he was carrying this team. I mean, he's making that money that he signed for this summer as a free agent. One of the things that people ask me, why did they sign Alex Lyon? Why did they do this? Well, A, they signed him as a backup to UPL this summer. B, one of the best investments a team can make, and Ty Conklin told me this years ago. I asked him, Ty, were you surprised you signed so quickly with the Detroit Red Wings as a free agent? This is years ago. I'm dating myself. Y'all do the math. And he says, no. And I said, really? Why not? He says, because teams always know there's such a good value to a dependable number 2 goalie. And that's why they signed Alex Lyon. That is why the Sabres made the investment in Alex Lyon. That he could come in. I mean, nobody expected Alex Lyon to start the first, 6-7 games of the season. But, I mean, in that stretch, he was the MVP as well. Colton Ellis, Lindy Ruff said, we've been keeping an eye on Colton Ellis through our scouting department as well. They picked him off the waiver wire from St. Louis. He was with Springfield, the AHL last year. And he even said, we had 3 goalies at one point on the Springfield, the AHL roster as well, too. He just didn't have an opportunity to prove himself. Stepped in, made that first start in the win against Detroit. I was disappointed in Detroit, too. I thought I was going to see more of a firepower in that team with Dylan Larkin. And another one, Harold, how long I've been doing this. I remember covering James Van Riemsdyk when he was playing at UNH years ago at Hockey East.
That's right.
So, and then the other reason why we see a 3-goalie situation, this is a gambit by the Sabres as well. So when I wrote about this in today's article on Michael Kesselring returning to the lineup this week and Colton Ellis coming off, being scratched because of a tight back, if we have this right, and we've all kind of thrown this around in the press room, we've said, Colton Ellis, he has to go on waivers if they want to demote him. He was put on waivers by the Blues October 5th. If he is put on waivers and then 30 days from October 5th, the Blues can be the first team to reclaim him. And that it's kind of a gambit as well. So I'm not gonna speculate on Colton Ellis' future because I have no idea about that. If I could speculate and get it right, I'd be playing lottery every day. But that was another thing. This is a strategic thing by the Sabres as well too. And if UPL has more consistency issues over the next few games, hey, you've got Alex Lyon who's proven himself. You've got Colton Ellis who wants to get more reps and who acquitted himself well in his first win. So we got over the 3-goalie situation. What was the next one?
I'll say just comment about maybe Zach Benson. Has he arrived? Putting points up finally.
Putting all assists up finally.
Yeah, that's okay.
And
free of the face cage as well.
I want to see. He shed the bubble in Toronto, I believe it was. So one thing I want to see more out of Zach Benson, I want to see him embrace his inner Brad Marchand because
he is so close to being there.
He is. It's there. It's there. He has said it. What does Tage Thompson call him? That little rat, which I get a kick out of as well. I want to see him embrace his inner Brad Marchand.
He's got a honey badger. Pick your animal of choice. That could be annoying.
This is how old I am. I think Ken Linsman from back in the 80s with the Flyers, and the Oilers. And that's another one. Just that little pest. I mean, they need that. You need the guy who's going to chirp, who's going to go toe to toe with some other people, who's just going to get under your skin and get in your head. That's what I want to see more of from Zach Benson. He is so capable of it.
Yeah.
Not to mention just being able to ultimately grow into his body. He's still only 20 years old. I think barely about to turn 21 at this point. So still has room to grow into his body, get even a bigger frame at this point to be more physical, be more of a pest on those plays. Yeah. So his rise is very interesting to watch because after this year, I believe he'll be up for what's likely to be a RFA contract as well. Yeah. So they have a big decision to make on what they'll do with him in the offseason. But kind of to talk a little bit more about the defense, Rachel. So you talked about Michael Kesselring, and you obviously talked about him in today's article that you wrote. But him making a return to the defensive lineup there, the decor, that could be a huge addition because the trade that brought him over with JJ Peterka, it's already paying dividends with Josh Doan, just making all the impact that he has in the offensive zone. So a classy Marchand, says Steve Noel. Love to see that. Hey, we'll take that.
Is there such a thing? So
I mean, hey, we'll take it. But thank you for that, Steve. But still, that trade for Peterka over the summer, now paying dividends, not only with Josh Doan, but now we'll finally be able to see what impact Michael Kesselring will have in the decor. So how much of an impact do you think he is going to make right away? Will they ease him in a little bit more? I saw that he was paired up with Jacob Bryson, maybe not necessarily going to be right there with Owen Power or Rasmus Dahlin right away, but you've seen him in practice at this point. He's probably looking like he's skating a whole lot better than how he was in the preseason. What do you think his immediate impact will be as soon as he hits the ice tomorrow against Columbus, if he indeed does?
It's just still the possibility. So Michael Kesselring is 6'5". He's going to bring size. He told us when he first met with the media after the trade that he wants to play with a physical edge. If you think about when he played the Sabres, when they were the Utah Hockey Club at the time of the Mammoth. I get my terminology correct. He was with Utah last year, and he registered the Gordie Howe hat trick against the Sabres in a 5-2 win for the Mammoth. Goal, assist, he fought back Malmstein. And that's one of, that's one of kind of the low-key reasons they acquired him as well, was he's not afraid to get physical. He's not afraid to stand up for his teammates. Speaking of, if I could go back to Alex Tuch for a moment, he may not score a lot. He may only have 7 points this season. He gets bonus points for taking on Jake McCabe and standing up for his teammate after Bowen Byram got leveled.
Getting punched in the throat.
Right. I mean, he almost had an ugly hit to the head, too, as he fell to the ice.
And everybody's like, oh, why did Alex Tuch do that? One, he was closest to the play. He was closest to McCabe. And after the debacle last season with Tage Thompson, when nobody stood up for him after he got leveled, I was like, all right, Alex Tuch, you earned that letter on your jersey by doing that. You keep that letter by standing up. And that's kind of, they don't want Michael Kesselring to throw himself in front of players like that. But I mean, if Jake McCabe rings the bell, you answer it.
Right. And that's been evident all up and down the lineup, just them just being more physical, being willing to stand up for each other.
I mean, what it was, I can't remember if it was Tage Thompson or Alex Tuch said after the game, we're not going to get pushed around. It's like, good.
Right. You guys are big. You shouldn't.
I mean, I always joke guys out there. I always joke that my I judge people by looking at them and saying, have you ever been in a fist fight? I bet you've been in a fist fight. Or I bet you've never been in a fist fight. So I'm hoping when people look at me, they say, I bet she's been in a fist fight or two.
And you'd be like, I bet she won too, right?
Yeah.
I was even telling someone, I think I was telling Mike at one time, I nearly got into a fist fight in Boston over someone getting up from their seat in the middle of a game. And I was like, look, you're either going to get up or you're going to sit down. I said, pick one or the other. I didn't pay $70. Have you stand in my way?
Hey, Rachel Lenzi, noted pugilist here, folks.
so that's Alex Tuch passed the test. So going back, Alex Tuch can't be throwing punches all the time. But Michael Kesselring can step in and provide that physical presence. Not saying he's going to fight, but he's another guy who's going to step in and stand up for his teammates if need be. But he's also going to bring size. He's going to bring a nice scoring touch. I saw he had 22 assists last year with Utah as well. I like his enthusiasm. I think he's a good locker room guy, much like Josh Doan is. I'd love to talk a little bit more of this Josh Doan piece I did earlier, just a little bit about his personality.
Please, he seems like such a glue guy, right? He's such a glue guy.
That's a very good word. And Josh Doan wants everybody to be involved. He did that at Arizona State. He wants to do that here. I love Michael Kesselring's enthusiasm. He's always smiling. He's always upbeat. He wants to succeed. And when I go back to when we all talked to him on the Zoom after he got traded, him and Josh Doan, they both said, you always wonder, what do players think when they come to Buffalo, when they get traded to Buffalo, especially over the last 14 years? You kind of go, you wonder if they go, ooh, but they were very upbeat and optimistic. And they're like, we can want to help this team figure things out.
Very glass half full.
We want to be part of the solution here. And I said, okay. Some optimism. And, I think also about Josh Doan and his professionalism, which he learned from his father. Coyotes great, likely Hall of Famer Shane Doan. And
he was in Toronto the other night, wasn't
he? He's been in Buffalo. Saw him in Buffalo the other day.
He was on the broadcast.
Yeah, you know who else I saw in Buffalo? Ty Domi.
Nice. All right.
I was like, that's Ty Domi. And someone said, no, it's not. I said, trust me, that's Ty Domi. Sure enough,
if you know.
Times I was right, nobody listened. It was Ty Domi in the press box. And I was like, damn, I could not even talk to him. He was one of my faves back in the day.
Between him and Rob Ray were just immense. They were some of the
epic battles.
They were must-see TV all the time.
I know. I keep going off on these tangents because I love talking hockey, but no, I mean, again, Kesselring, he's going to add such a great dimension to the defense, and we've that's already gotten a nice surprise from Mattias Samuelsson. You brought up Mattias Samuelsson before.
Yes, I'm glad you brought him up. Noted goal scorer, Mattias.
Mattias Samuelsson. We were joking. I'm serious about Alex. About Alex Tuch being a Selke tournament. All of a sudden, Mattias Samuelsson might be giving Rasmus Dahlin a run for the Norris Trophy here. But the thing about Mattias Samuelsson, again, he had a bad season last year.
Got a lot of flack for it too.
He looks confident and healthy. I think that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, and the peanut gallery last year was calling for the buyout, which the Sabres probably couldn't afford if they did it. I mean, we
already have Jeff Skinner on that.
Yeah, but Christian Ehrhoff. I want Christian.
Can't forget that.
I want his agent. When my next life, and then, but Samuelson, it was a hard adjustment for him going into the Lindy Ruff school. It's people don't like change. That has been organizationally and psychologically proven. People do not react well to change, even if you want to. But see, over the summer, Matthias Samuelsson got introspective. He valued himself, and he capitalized instead of retreating. And that, to me, if a player, not even a player, an athlete, if a person can do that and say, yeah, I didn't do well, how am I going to do this better? That, to me, is such a good sign of resiliency. It tells me more about the person than it does about the athlete as well, too.
Yeah.
Matthias Samuelsson came in. I mean, he's a low-key guy. He's not a raw dude, but he comes in and gets the job done. And I laugh because he scored these 2 goals, and I said, damn, I bet his dad Shell is really proud of him right now for showing up. I did another one. I remember watching Paul Samuelson back in the day, 6'8" on skates. But yeah, he did. He's buying into the Lindy Ruff school, and that's important. And you want him to be a leader on this team as well, too, because he's capable of it. Not just from his pedigree, but from his experiences in hockey as well.
Yeah, right. He's wearing an A.
He's living up to it now.
Don't just be out there. He obviously, let's not kid ourselves. He's not going to score at this rate. But it's nice that when he gets an open shot. Yeah. Right. But when he gets an open shot, it's nice that he can bury one. He showed it twice in the game. And yeah, just, be a solid guy, even if he's going to play third pairing minutes, or be a guy that can be kind of interchangeable with your other pairings. Just be solid. That's all we're looking for.
And that's another thing, going back to Michael Castleberry. He's also a very versatile defenseman. He can play at any of those 6 positions, any of those 6 spots on defense as well, too. And he's a very well-rounded defenseman. And he's going to add to the mix as well. And of course, I'm looking at this, I said, all of a sudden they got this glut of defensemen. They've got Bryson, who's, out of concussion protocol. They have to send Zach Metza back down to Rochester. And they've got, they're moving around. One thing we've noticed is they're moving around Rasmus Dahlin and pairing him with other players. We've paired with Matthias Samuelsson in practice today. And they put Bowen Byram with, and I've on the piece of paper as well to move Bowen Byram to, I believe it was Connor Timmins. Don't quote me on that, even though we're live. But they're shifting around people and moving them just to get the experience of doing that. Try a different role, take on a different thing, rather than Rasmus Dahlin's not doing that great. Matthias Samuelsson is doing great.
Right.
That's part of it. This coaching staff wants to see the versatility of their defense.
All right. Keep it on the defense a little bit too. Rasmus Dahlin. So obviously he hasn't been lighting up the score sheet as far as goals go. He does have 7 assists to his name and 7 points, obviously. 23 shots on goal. He's still getting a good amount of hits. He has 9 hits. Pretty good Corsi right now, 53% on that. His goals for percentage on there is a little bit troubling at the moment, and some people might think he's giving a lot of giveaways. He has 5 giveaways that have been kind of really crucial at this point. A lot of turnovers, but the team is just scoring right now at just a rate of 31.3% of total goals expected for while he's on the ice. So meaning the opponents are really just kind of taking advantage of his giveaways at this point in time too. Do you think this is just a result of Dahlin having multiple partners and just having to adjust over a period of time? Is it just a slow start? Because he's shown that even if he plays hurt, it'll just take him a little bit and he'll get right back to his almost Norris caliber ways, of course. But do you think his slow start has just been attributed to all the rotation of players around him? What are your thoughts?
I was even thinking the other night, Dahlin's not having a great game as well, too. I think it's a slow start for him as well. Lindy Ruff had also said the other day, said, look at the offseason. Rasmus Dahlin nearly lost his fiance. That is no small thing. That carries. These
athletes are people. You know what I mean? That's the thing. We just disconnected sometimes from that.
I respect athletes and people who can compartmentalize their thoughts and feelings and their mental state. When your fiance gets a heart transplant, and isn't in the ICU.
I believe she's still in Europe right now, right?
She's in Europe. I'm like, you can't compartmentalize that. And this was my first few months on the beat. And I said, gosh, Rasmus seems a little sullen. And I'm like, well, wait, fiance nearly died. Give him some grace here. And Lindy even said the other night, he's gone through a lot emotionally. And that was kind of interesting to hear a coach and a guy like Lindy Ruff acknowledge that. I think that was very important as well, too. As you say, athletes are people. We look at them through their statistics, through that lens. That's one of the things I like about sports reporting is you can reveal more about the athletes, about people. They can open up to you. It's a very big thing. He's carrying a lot right now. He's carrying, his fiance's state, God love her. I really hope she's recovering. Genuinely do. I mean,
of course,
we have to keep that thing of empathy in with, when we bring up Darlene. I mean, he's the captain of the Buffalo Sabres, which, I mean, if you look at the league perception, 14 years without a playoff spot, 0-3
he's been
start.
here for almost half of that.
I mean,
he wears a lot of that.
Yeah, my first month at the News was his first month in training camp. So wow. I'm in, I'm following Rasmus Dahlin along here. But there's a lot that's carrying with him as well. And I mean, it's gonna love again, 82 game season, ebb and flow season. A lot can happen, from game to game as well, too. So I don't think there's cause for panic with Rasmus Dahlin as well. And I think it's actually good he's working with other defensive partners as well. I mean, and this is nothing against Bowen Byram or anybody else. If you look around the same people all the time, you might get a little stale. Maybe a change might be a little refreshing and you learn how to adjust, or you learn from someone else or some other people as well to say, hey, maybe you want to try this, or maybe you shouldn't do this or whatnot. I think it'd be a very constructive opportunity for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that introspective on there, because a lot of people did forget, again, that awful experience he did experience in the off season. So again, we wish all the best for Carolina while she recovers in Europe.
Yeah.
But back to Steve's comment again. So some of the major contributors this season, we'll talk about Alex Lyon, Josh Doan, Connor Timmins. Yeah, they've been outstanding additions so far. And then, like you said, we hope to see Michael Kesselring be added into that group. So again, many people are often criticizing Kevin Adams. I know we're guilty of that for sure. Yeah. But at the same time, it might be looking at this as some really hefty additions and what could potentially get them over the hump. So yeah, thanks for that, Steve.
I have a quick follow-up, Chris, just for real quick for Rachel. So okay. Steve makes a really good point, and I think that, like, looking at the Peterka trade in retrospect, obviously, like, the early returns on that, and don't get me wrong, Peterka's been good over there as well in Utah, but I mean, I think Doan has performed probably better than any of us could have expected, and with the leadership and the scoring, and like, he's just an all-around great player, and then the leadership, and we're obviously going to see what Kesselring could bring to the table, in short here. So I think kudos to Kevin Adams, but on the flip side of it, I did want to ask you one kind of, for me, a glaring item right now that I think has to be addressed. We look at the Josh Norris trade for Cousins. Cousins scores his 6th goal the other night. And, it's funny. So we talked, I'm sure you had an opportunity to interview Josh. I think it was the day or maybe 2 days before the season starts. And he talks about being as healthy as he's ever been going into the season, and literally crumbles, a non-contact injury, taking a face-off, and he's out.
Taking a face-off of all things. What he is known for is a face. I mean, he was brought in, and I have this written down in some of my notes. That's why I asked for topics. I like to take notes about things, be a little prepared. Right. So, it's Josh Norris. I mean, everyone was hoping this is the year for Josh Norris. I mean, he said this is the first summer in like 3 or 4 years he had an entire summer to train and be healthy. I mean, he has that wonky left shoulder. He had screws put in a few years ago. He's had 3 surgeries on it since 2019. I think the most games he's played in one season is 66. Right. And it's, where he has missed the most is in the face-off circle. I was looking at some of the statistics. Ryan McLeod is one of the top face-off guys, and I use top very much a relative, all relative. He's I was looking at the statistic. He's won 38.1% of his face-offs, 61 of 160 total face-offs. Yuri Kulik, who I like on the top line, regardless. I think he, even after he got demoted a few games ago by Lindy, I think that was to send a message. Like, Yuri, come on, get it in gear. We're counting on you. Yuri Kulik's had 117 face-offs. He's only won 46. That's 32.3%. You look at the NHL's leaders, the top 5 in face-off percentage wins are between 60 and 67%. I'm going to butcher the guy's name from Ottawa, Tim Stützle. Stützle. I'm not good with my German, so bear with me. I'm from Southern Europe, not Northern Europe. Stützle. But I can pronounce Draisaitl. I can pronounce Leon Draisaitl, who's also in the top 5. I can pronounce Taves, Jonathan Taves, Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews are among that top 5. And they're, the top 10 in the NHL are between 58 and 67.5% winning. The threshold for winning faceoffs, you want someone who's going to be at 60 some percent, low
elite
60s, high 60s. In the preseason, Josh Norris was 60% on faceoffs.
Yeah, he was great.
They found him. They were like, oh, we got a faceoff guy. They need a player who can come in with that prowess and fill in for Josh Norris. It's easy right now. One thing I learned when I first started covering hockey, we're talking with Dale Hunter's son, Dylan, played for the Portland Pirates. I grew up watching Dale Hunter. I was, for all of his transgressions, he was still one of my favorite players with the Capitals. And that's saying a lot. So I was not a big Capitals fan growing up. No disrespect to Capitals, but Dylan Hunter told me his dad gave him 2 pieces of advice. One, when you were lining up for a face-off, you want to get the advantage in a face-off. Look at how the official who's going to do in the face-off holds the puck. Look at the position of his hand. I said, oh, that's so smart. I never thought of that. Second one was if say face-offs are so valuable because you win that face-off for your team, your team has guaranteed time with the puck. That is 100% puck possession. And even Lindy Ruff had said that to me a couple of weeks ago. And, when I said, we talked about the importance and the value of face-offs. He's like, that's puck possession right there. I can't remember the exact quote, but I was kind of like, okay, this is, Dylan Hunter told me this 15 years ago. And Lindy Ruff keeps saying this, okay, this is an evergreen thing in hockey. So that is where the Sabres miss Josh Norris the most right now. I think 100%. It's in the face-off circle. And I mean, it was funny. I saw him this morning. He was walking with one of the equipment guys and the trainer. So I think they said it's going to be about a significant amount of time, could be up to 8 weeks. So he's around. They haven't forgot about him. Don't forget about him. They add him back to the lineup.
Would it be reasonable to expect him back maybe like in a healthy manner, of course, like around January?
I mean, I would say December, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe
trying to be conservative on it, of course. Maybe when they take the history of injuries.
Yeah, maybe when they take that Western Canada road trip as well, too. But they get Josh Norris back, they're going to get such a big boost in the playoffs, and they have guys who also, maybe shouldn't be taking face off just because it's not in their responsibilities. That's why Tage Thompson's been taking some face off. Jason Zucker as well. They're not face off specials. That's just not their role. So, getting Josh Norris back will be a big boost for winning faceoffs and getting that guaranteed puck possession.
Right. And one more point about that Josh Norris for Cousins trade. So Steve brings up again, Cousins has 6 goals, 3 assists in 9 games, but still -8 on the year. So he's saying that the type of problem the Sabres need to get rid of. Yeah. I mean,
he's never really been a plus player, Cousins.
Yeah, that's kind of his MO.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ottawa's not having a great start to the season either. Right. I mean, it's interesting looking at I was looking at the Atlantic Division standings. I mean, it's always fun to standing watch. I got the text from someone. Oh, if the season ended today, the Sabres would be in the playoffs. I'm like, slow your roll, buddy. Yeah. 8 games in.
Let's wait a lot
of stuff could happen. I mean, it's interesting. Florida is a shell of a team right now.
Yeah.
Without Sasha Barkov, without Matt Tkachuk. There was another one who just went on the shelf as well. And what's happening in Tampa Bay? I mean,
they've had a bad start.
Yeah,
I don't really know why.
I mean, they're starting to show their age a bit too, Tampa Bay. I mean, Vasilevsky, I know, has been off to a real rocky start down there.
Yeah, and Detroit, it always seems like Detroit, there's a puzzle piece missing. Patrick Kane's hurt as well too, but because I was expecting to see more out of Dylan Larkin.
Yeah,
the other night when they were.
It seems that way every year with Larkin, though. He's so talented and he's fast.
I don't think there's enough around him.
I think your colleague Mike Harrington, he was talking about Detroit, and right after the game, of course. I mean, he was kind of calling them maybe not the exact verbiage, of course, but like some version of like either overrated or paper tiger in a sense, and it kind of showed just right there, and just how the Sabres were able to just easily handle them in many aspects of the game. So.
Right. Montreal's the team that I'm.
Montreal. I mean, you want to talk about some young guys. Back to Detroit. My issue with Detroit. I wonder if Steve Yzerman is also, Mr. Red Wings. I wonder if he's also sticking too much the Red Wing way. One thing you got to do in sports, you got to evolve.
That's exactly.
And I wonder how much Steve Yzerman wants to evolve and wants that organization to evolve. I mean, you can't count on drafting all the Euros anymore because Henrik Zetterberg's retired. Pavel Datsyuk, Nicholas Lidstrom, awesome players, but I mean, Håkan Andersson struck gold years ago. I don't know if lightning strikes twice.
Yeah, tough to have that be repeated, of course. But kind of last little bit point about injured players. Obviously, the Sabres have had their good rotation of players from Rochester come up. Keep in mind, some of these players are still waivers exempt because based on the number of games they played or years they've been in the league. But God forbid, of course, if another significant injury were to occur, would the team consider keeping Noah Östlund on the team full time? Would they maybe want to consider having Kasa Helenius up? Isak Rosén, obviously, he's put in a lot of time in the AHL. I mean, everybody's wondering, when's he going to take the next step? These players obviously all being those first-round draft picks, of course, over the last few years, still putting up very respectable numbers in the AHL. You mentioned Zach Metsa, Josh Dunn sees some time, Tyson Kozak, another injured player, of course. They've been a lot of the popular choices, but do you think maybe the Sabres would consider, again, barring anything like catastrophic happening, of course, would these guys have more of a chance of being there, or do you see them more likely staying in Rochester?
I the thing about Isak Rosén, he has to find, I forgot the C word again. He's got to find the consistency and develop the habits to stay in the NHL. Sorry, Isak, I was not impressed with your training camp. I just felt like there was something missing from his game. And another one we talk about, we didn't mention Ryan Johnson, who got sent down to Rochester so he could get more minutes. He could get that playing time. They're kind of taking the page from the Devin Levi playbook as well, too, to get more minutes, get more reps. Yeah, that's how you build that consistency, is by doing it. It may not be against NHL level talent, or it may be NHL talent in training, but you also are going against guys who they're playing to keep their job too. There's that same mentality as well. Consta Helenius, I have no inside information, but I also think they want him to find out what it's like to be on a tear at the AHL, build the confidence, do it at the NHL level as well.
Just like Kulik, same situation.
And Kulik going to the AHL for the playoffs and helping Rochester. I mean, they lost to Laval, but I was thinking he was scoring goals, and he built up his confidence. And he didn't make Czechia's team for the World Championships because I said, you didn't play for them. Sorry, I wasn't here before. But he kind of laughed and said, I didn't have a choice. I had to go to Rochester, but it turned out well. I worked. He made lemonades. He made lemonade out of lemons. It was a good thing for him as well too. You can get that experience and do it against other guys who are competing for NHL jobs. Take advantage of it. I think that's going to be a good thing for Isak Rosén as well too, to build that confidence as well. Figure out what that missing piece is in his game.
Not to mention postseason experience of some kind will just go a long way.
Oh yeah, doing the playoffs when it matters more. Yeah.
But just kind of touching on just like the games ahead now, just because we're almost at like about 45 minutes or so in. Just want to make sure we're just doing a little check here and be respectful of everybody's time. It's sitting at right around 902 viewers. So thank you all for tuning in, of course. But again, the next the team plays like the next 4 out of the 5 games at home. Got Columbus tomorrow night, Boston later this week, and then Washington on deck for Saturday night. And then next week, Utah and St. Louis to follow. So again, that's really before like one of the bigger road trips they have getting into November too. Lindy Ruff continues to really abide by like getting that 6 out of every 10 possible points, kind of like as like his standard, just to kind of like, if you follow this, abide by this, that like you're not guaranteed, but you have a pretty good shot of making a playoff spot by the end of the season rolls around. So will this next slate of games be really winnable, do you think? Like how do you think their prospects are looking for the games ahead, Rachel?
I think I was listening to a podcast this morning. It was Ellie Friedman and Kabakowski's podcast, and they were talking about there are some games where you kind of, I can't remember what the term they use. It's like, I remember we used to say, well, this is where you pad your stats. These are the ones where empty calorie wins. Empty calorie games where you may have a great meal, but you may have some kind of junk food with it that's going to make it taste even better. But it's kind of like maybe there's some of those, I wonder about Columbus, what's their identity as well. So then you've got Washington, which, other than their one Stanley Cup year, historically can't get out of the first or second round of the playoffs as well. But they bring in one of the world's greatest players in Alex Ovechkin. I wonder about their age. How does a team like the Sabres, a young team, capitalize against a team like Ovechkin, like the Capitals with Ovechkin? I mean, John Carlson, who's been in the league 15 years now as well. How are they going to handle Tom Wilson? I mean, I want to see Zach Benson versus Tom Wilson. Who's going to get under whose skin first?
Yeah, I think
as the kids say, can't wait.
Tom Wilson,
as well too. Utah's got a bit of an upstart team also. St. Louis, after they went through all their issues last year, trying to figure things out as well too. And I think it's good. They've got that last Atlantic Division opponent against Boston. They go back to Boston again. I hope they put more shots on goal in the first period because that'll help. I said, I remember thinking, I said, wow, what did Michael Scott say about Wayne Gretzky's quote? 100% of the shots you don't take, and then
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott,
the GIF. I always yell using that, but again, you take the points where you can get them, even if they feel like the empty calorie points, And I think if they can get business done against Columbus. I mean, Columbus is also a tough team too. I mean, they came into the prospects challenge with their prospects, and it was scrums everywhere. And I'm like, so maybe that's the identity of this organization also. But it's interesting. They go from Columbus to Boston to Washington. And then into St. Louis and Utah next week. They're really going to run the gamut. They're going to see all these teams with different identities, and that's what it is. I mean, there's that Atlantic Division run. It was unique. I think it was only Detroit had a similar one like that. You get the points are invaluable there, but I think you're just going to see all different kinds of hockey from all these different teams. You're going to go against the superstars. You're going to go against the grinders. You're going to go against one of the best goalies in the league, and Jeremy Swayman. But what's in front of me? You're going to see old friend Casey Middlestat. You're going to say, okay, you're going to look at Boston.
Henry Jokiharju too.
Jokiharju as well too. So, Colorado is surprising me like, whoa, that's where Victor Olofsson is. But it's this stretch is going to be, it's going to show them what more of the NHL is about. It's going to show them a little more about themselves as well.
Of course. Yeah. Steve, again, really appreciate the engagement, of course. So he says getting 5 of the next of these next 3 games would be huge. Loser points, very critical to make a playoff run. Getting 3 points from Toronto was absolute W. I agree with that. Kind of reminds me of just how the New York Islanders have been in the last few years, how they've kind of really utilized a lot of those loser points to really help them in the standings, of course. I mean, they obviously got boat raced a lot in those first couple rounds. They had
they always had Pittsburgh. They always had Pittsburgh's number though.
Yeah. Oh, they sure did. Yes. And it was I think the second year of the kind of the COVID impacted years where they made a decent run. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final. So it was they had their potential because at the same time they had some solid goaltending to help them get there too. But again, getting back to those loser points, yes, if you do make it to overtime, it would stink for them to lose in that regard. But getting some of those where they historically have not gotten that would also be huge for them in the standings.
Yeah, it's kind of like collecting the loose change jar around the house. You find nickels under the couch, you find nickels in your purse. They're going to add up over time.
Like you said, the empty calorie points in the standings. So
yeah.
All full circle.
No, that's Ellie Freeman and Kyle Bukowskis. I attribute my sources. So.
I mean, hey, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
They're not. No, I thought it was a great analogy.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. But Rachel, we just to kind of take things a little bit away from hockey here, just to kind of talk a little bit more fun, maybe outside of work things like that. We've introduced a new segment in the last couple of months.
Okay.
We've last had you on. So call this the Grind My Gears / Give Them Their Flowers segment, brought to you by one of our sponsors, Larger Than Life Blooms, because size matters, of course. But in this case, Rachel, tell us something, whether it's something that's absolutely driving you nuts that you cannot stand, truly detest, you want to vent about, be it sports related or your day-to-day life. Or if you want to give somebody your flowers, you want to give somebody or something, maybe a shout out, something that's given you your joy in life lately. So where would you stand at this point in time?
Oh, God.
You want to lay some hate or you want to give them their flowers?
I want to give some flowers because I think our world needs more of that. I'm going to give a shout out to there are 2 actresses and comedians I absolutely love. And they have become, as Wendy Williams, the great TV host, talk show host would say, my friends in my mind. Lisa Ann Walter, the actress from Abbott Elementary, the redhead who plays Melissa Chimenti.
Oh, hilarious. Yes.
I love her. I saw her I saw her do stand up here in Buffalo. She was awesome. I love that she's like she does no harm and takes no crap. And I'm so excited for Leslie Jones's new stand up coming out on Peacock because I am a big Leslie Jones fan. I love seeing these two women doing their thing. I mean, I remember watching, Lisa Ann Walter years ago in The Parent Trap as Chessie. And then I'm watching that, and I went,
that's a heck of a throwback.
People I was like, Chessie, oh my God. I'm like, no, she's Shementi now. And then Leslie Jones, who just, if you ever want to look up one of the most hilarious bits on YouTube or Instagram ever, look up Leslie Jones, Nadia Comaneci, the 1976 Romanian gymnast.
Okay.
She does one of the
I know
funniest,
exactly what you're talking about. That one.
She does one of the funniest bits on that. I laugh so hard, I cry. And the other one that's really funny is Leslie Jones when she tries to meet Prince.
Oh man, that would
hilarious.
Be spectacular.
Anything with Prince is
her
amazing.
time on SNL was some of the best SNL they've had in recent memory. So I could also appreciate some Leslie Jones.
I'm gonna give a shout out to these two women because they are giving me life, as the kids would say. They're especially giving me life right now as we're starting to move into the NHL season.
At least
laughter is so important.
6-7 route. At least you're not going the 6-7 route. Oh,
that was another one. I started turning to my husband. I go, "What is this?" And my husband, who's a Kansas graduate, says, "Oh, one of the Kansas commits went viral for this. Did you see? Did you see Dan Muse? What is the 6-7? Look up. That's on Google.
No, I know
Dan
exactly
Muse. What is the 6-7?
Chris has been teaching me about it because with his teaching, his day job. I'm like, dude, what is this? Like, I don't know what it's about.
Nobody knows.
He's been schooling me on it.
Let me tell you, my 76-year-old mother knows what it is. I said, Mom, how'd you know that? She says, the internet.
Because she's she's 67.
And then she's at the internet.
6-7.
And I said, Mom, how did you find this on the internet? And she says, I said, are you on TikTok? She's Instagram. I said, you're on Instagram? I lurk. My 76-year-old mother knows 6-7. So shout out to Mom for doing the thing.
There you go. So hey, Steve again.
Funny women. That's what's keeping me going today.
Hey, we can very much appreciate that because there's most definitely a place for that in this world. But Steve again, he hates bogus AI questions. A lot of really bogus AI. Like news reports, it's gross.
Bogus AI, bogus AI slop. That's
I got one. I
got one too about Nelly Furtado. Nelly Furtado leaving music because she's put on weight. I'm like, no, that's not why she's leaving. She's doing other projects. Maybe here's I'm going to give my advice to everybody. This is what grinds my gears.
Hey,
read the article. That's my grind my gears. Please read the article. Don't just look at the headline. As Megan Thee Stallion once said, have a good read.
Right. And then not to mention, read the article written by the human. The human. So
I got one for you guys. So I usually will give flowers, but I actually do have a grind my gears about what Steve mentioned and Rachel, what you just said about the AI. I actually saw an article. Notice the quotes, fingers. An article today by AI stating that Devin Levi's pissed and he wants out of the Sabres organization.
I saw that too. I saw that too, and I said, no, this is why you need real reporters.
That's what I'm saying.
So here's the thing. Buy a paper. Subscribe to the Buffalo News.
Right.
Subscribe to your local paper. Subscribe to the papers and the outlets and the teams that cover the teams that you like, because they will get you information. Information is not free.
Right.
And we are not entitled to it. We are, but we aren't. We are not. If you want quality information, it's worth the investment. And that is why journalism still matters. And why it will continue to matter.
Amen to that. I love it.
Primo right there. So yes. And also, do not just be getting your news from social media there, folks. That is where the AI slop is coming from. So avoid that like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to kind of circle back on just like giving some flowers moment, I'll go the sports route, but again, a little bit more of the heartwarming side of things.
Give one to the Bills?
The New York, I won't just be a homer and pick the Bills. I'm actually going to give the New York Jets their flowers because they finally got that first one of the season.
Breece Hall, my fantasy football team.
Hey, got a touchdown
3
pass
tutties.
there. But I mean,
there we go.
Rachel, I'm not sure if we told you in the past, but we say this all the time on our pod. We follow the Detroit Lions on behalf of our dad. And obviously we got to know who Aaron Glenn was these last few years. So we think, I feel like he's very easy to root for. He's got a real uphill battle for him, trying to get the team culture right for the Jets after all those years and continues years of dysfunction. So even for an AFC East rival, it's really hard to watch any team go through it. So especially after hearing the passing of Nick Mangold earlier in the day yesterday,
Yeah,
that was brutal. So like their longtime stalwart center. So like the fact that they won the game that day, I'm going to give my flowers to the New York Jets because hey, it's good to see them actually have it. So
I do have one flowers too. After go ahead, Rachel.
I was just gonna say with the New York Jets, I want to see the AFC East be competitive.
Yes,
not just the Bills and everybody else, not just Bills, the Patriots and everybody else. Yeah. You get those teams winning games. It makes that division that much better.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you're already starting to see that with the Patriots right now. If there's going to be an actual race for it in the end, I mean, the Patriots, I mean, you could argue, oh yes, cupcake schedule, but no, they are handling these teams. So it's not like they're just some easy team. They haven't played any juggernauts. Hey, they beat the Bills. I mean, that goes to show you right there that you got to take everybody seriously. So again, credit to the New York Jets. I'll give them their flowers, of course. So
I do have one more flowers that I know that Rachel will appreciate this for sure. So we, Chris and I do have a family member, our favorite great aunt Joanne, actually was visited by the Sabres today. I don't know if you guys probably can't see because my green screen. It was Chris. Chris knows who visited.
It was
the hospital.
Timmons, McLeod, and Zucker came by.
Okay.
Roswell.
Probably can't see it.
Oh yeah, they did the Roswell visit today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my mom sent us this picture earlier today. Mm-hmm. I was like, good on them. I'm glad that they do stuff like that, especially when it affects you personally.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, anything you can do to brighten people's day. I mean, that's. Yeah, I was looking at some of the photos on social media. I didn't get to go to the hospital visit. I had a story to file. But I was like, you know what? I mean, you need those feel-good moments in sports. Absolutely. Again, it goes back to humanizing people, humanizing the athletes we cover, to see them engaging in our community. You might find out maybe one of them has their own story to share as well, too. Yeah. So, no, that's great. I hope you're...
Shout out to Aunt Joanne. Hopefully she I don't know if she tunes into our show, but she does. Well wishes, and we're thinking about you. We love you, Joanne.
Yeah. So just got done with a major surgery too. So we wish a very speedy recovery to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. And then hello to our family in Texas as well. Thanks for tuning in, of course. But just to kind of start wrapping things up, Rachel, thank you again so much for your time. Absolutely.
Thank you guys for having me.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. But, give the folks a plug. You obviously gave that awesome statement again about making sure you follow and support your local journalism, but give yourself a plug for some upcoming work you might have in the pipeline and obviously where to find it.
Yeah, I'm just going to be covering a lot of games. I'll be at the Columbus Buffalo game Tuesday night. Mike Harrington's going on the road. So for the Boston Sabres game, so follow him later this week. Then I'll be at the Washington game. I'll be covering the St. Louis, covering Utah, and then I'll be hitting the road the week that they go to Carolina, Utah, and Colorado. I'm very excited to see Utah's new setup out in the suburbs. It's supposed to be spectacular as well. So we're covering a lot of games and grinding it out. I'd like to give a plug for my Instagram account. Actually, I'm starting to build up followers on that. It's not been easy because there's so much.
I got you
out there.
I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna tag you. Said I have people.
All right, I'll share this on my Instagram account as well. Okay. But it's our Lenzi Reporter. It's my first initial, my last name. Reporter. I'm having fun putting together a lot of road videos. Montreal, Boston, pregame skates, mascots. Just another way to engage with people and say. And I'm like, I love mascots, so I want to get mascot videos. I was just to do that as well. So. You could give me a follow on Instagram. That'd be great. You want to find my work, go to www.buffalonews.com. Click on sports, click on Sabres. You will find all of our Sabres coverage as well. You'll
get a good deal if you subscribe right away.
Yeah, and subscribe. You subscribe. You'll get insider information from. We're investing in going on the road to follow this team because everyone wants to know what's going on with the Sabres. We're going to the locker rooms to build relationships, working relationships with the people we cover. It's very, very important as well too. So follow, go to buffalonews.com. You can subscribe, please do. Follow me on Instagram where I'll put lots of videos from road games, from practices, and links to stories as well too. And my DMs are open on Instagram. So drop me a note there too.
Nice. Hey, we'll have a road martini, you and I, at some point soon. I promise you.
Okay, let me know when. Okay, yeah.
Awesome. So again, Rachel, thanks so much for that. So Shawnee V, any parting thoughts before we do our little closing remarks here?
No, like I said, I was in kind of full panic mode. Nice to see the Bills continue the trend of being undefeated off of the bye. Got a nice dominant performance. I hope that obviously, and I'm going to miss you guys. Obviously, I was supposed to come home and go to the Chiefs game with you and the boys. Hope you guys have a great time.
Should be fun.
Yeah, hopefully they can win this one because it's going to matter for seeding for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of those Chiefs, they are about to be on the TV right now as I'm watching the Monday night countdown. But for us tonight, folks, that will do it. But look for us again on Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, to really hype up this Bills-Chiefs matchup. And we're going to be doing that with some folks we got acquainted with the West War Room podcast. They specialize in the AFC West.